It's August. I know your garden is looking a little bit messy and you want to do some tidying up, but put down your flipping shears
What?
because you can't be cutting some of these plants. And I know you've got your eye on them because they're looking so messy. Some of these, if you cut them now, you will destroy next year's flowering display. And some of them, worse still, you could actually risk killing off your plant. And I genuinely mean that. So I'm going to be talking to you about those evergreen plants that you shouldn't be cutting now. I'm going to be telling you which herbaceous plants you shouldn't be cutting now, and perhaps more importantly regarding next year's flowering displays, those spring flowering plants that you should not be cutting now. But the first group of plants I am going to talk to you about are those plants that you shouldn't cut now simply because you could end up killing them. And that's all those plants that are looking heat stressed now. I'll tell you how to recognize it, what the problem is, and what you should do about it. Any heat stressed plant is a plant that is unable to take up enough water from the root system to release it through the leaves in order to help it cool down. So these plants could have been well watered and had plenty of water available to it, but because it's so hot, because it's losing so much moisture through the leaves, it can't physically keep up with the moisture loss, and it starts to wilt despite having plenty of water at the base. And it's a big problem for these plants. It can really weaken them. Now you can generally recognize when a plant is wilting because the soft tissue at the topmost growth and the leaves, they all just tend to flop, and you think, well, it didn't look like that yesterday, something's happened. Well, it's because the plant, the body of the plant, has run out of enough moisture and it can't hold itself up. It is collapsing. You might see leaves that curl in on themselves. Again, it's a mechanism to help reduce water loss. Now, you'll know if you've watered it because it's likely that you did the watering. So if you've got a plant that is wilting and you've checked the soil underneath to see if the ground is dry, well, if it is dry, you just need to water it again, water it deeply, make sure it gets plenty, allow it to sink down into the depths of the soil. But if it's wet and it's wilting, well, then you have classic heat stress, and this is where the problem lies. Like I say, you can't be going around cutting heat stress plants. They're already severely under stress. If you cut them on top of that, there's a good chance that your plants will become weakened, like I say, possibly die, or even open them up to secondary infections through these open cuts, because the plant's in a weakened state. It cannot fight off these infections. So it's very, very important you don't cut heat stress plants. Okay, assuming that all your plants are properly watered, they're not heat stressed, well then now I'm going to talk about specific plants. And this first group, as I mentioned earlier, are going to be all those evergreen plants. The first one I want to talk to you about are your yew trees. So they could be hedging, specimens, topiary plants. They're all fantastic, really tough, but you can't be cutting them now. The reason is this: if you cut yews in August, they'll put out fresh, soft, invigorated growth. And this invigorated growth is highly susceptible to both sun scorch on hot, dry days and also drying out if you do have a period of drought. So it's recommended not to do this. If you want to do it, you should have really done this around about June time. And also, because it takes quite a long time for the new growth on yews to harden off, there's a big risk that when you get your first frost, it can kill off this new lush growth. So we don't cut yews now. The next are your box plants, assuming you haven't already lost them through box moth caterpillar. If you cut these now, the top growth that exists has been hardened off to the sun, and you get a lot of foliage below that top growth. It goes down quite deep. So when you cut it, you're exposing all that soft growth underneath to the direct sun. And the first thing that's going to happen is all of that is going to be scorched off, looks absolutely awful. And then, of course, you're going to get a flush of new growth. Then you might have the same problems that you had with the yew tree, especially if it dries out. It is susceptible to wilting this new growth. So yew trees, no. Box trees, no. What else?
Well, it's going to be all of your holly trees, although no one's really going to be messing about with trees this big.
And it's also going to be your laurels for the exact same reason. You get this invigorated soft growth that comes through, and then as soon as you get a few hot, bright, sunny days, all that new growth's been damaged and you've got a horrible looking plant. There will be more evergreen plants that this will happen to, and if you want to add a few, put those in the comments. We would generally love to hear from you. Otherwise, let's crack on with that next group of plants. But before we do that, I am contractually obliged to do this. Herbaceous plants that you should not be cutting now. Did you have a stunning display of Crocosmia this year?
Yes!
You did. Do they look a bit crappy now?
Yes!
I'm not surprised. And do you want to cut them?
Yes!
No, you don't want to cut them. But I'll tell you what you can do. Now, Crocosmias, all the strength and power of these plants are in the culms below the surface of the soil. And at this time of year, now it's finished flowering, it's doing two things. It's producing its seeds in order to pass on its genetic information to the next generation. It's also absorbing nutrition back from the leaves into the culms to bulk these culms up, meaning they're in fantastic condition next year for next year's blooms. Now, you don't want to cut all these leaves off, because then you're denying the culms all this nutrition, energy and resource to build these up. So you don't cut these yet. You will cut them once they've all gone brown and horrible, but for now you leave them. But what you could do, if you wanted to, is remove all of these old seed heads, because these are also taking out nutrition, resources from the bulbs to direct them into here. So if you cut these off, it denies these from taking the resource, more for the bulb. The next plants are your Mexican salvias, like these involucrators and these garaniticas. Now I accept these are quite messy looking plants, but you have to refrain from cutting these now. They will struggle to regrow from this weak green growth, making them floppy, delaying flowers, weakening the plants. You can create gaps in the plant, so it looks even worse. And all that foliage that is further down, again, is going to be prone to sunscorch. So it's a bit of a disaster if you start cutting these salvias. You may well be tempted to start cutting down all of your old bush peonies. And I don't blame you, because a lot of their growth will be becoming discoloured, brownish, not particularly attractive. But it's the same situation as we had with the Crocosmia. At the moment, the root system of these plants are drawing out all the nutritional resources from the stems and the leaves in order to bulk up the roots. And you want that to happen because, again, it gives you a better flowering display for next year. So no to cutting any of your old bush peonies. The next plant I want to talk to you about are your Japanese Anemones, which are a particular favourite of my lovely wife's Lorna. I appreciate these are a bit wild, can be a bit rampant, a lot of foliage, bit of dieback in it. I don't particularly like them, especially don't like the pink varieties. They are absolutely awful, but the white ones, they do have a certain appeal, especially in the evening, because they do quite shine, but they haven't flowered yet. And despite looking messy, the last thing you want to do is cut them now, but people do because of the mess. So refrain from cutting these, let them bloom, and then if you want to cut them after that, be my guest. Dig them up and throw them in the bin if you want to, because I don't like them.
Oh!
I'm going to group these together. It's going to be your Helenium, which is a lovely American late summer flowering plant. Rudbeckia, again, a wonderful collection of plants. I particularly like Rudbeckia hirta. And then you've got the Echinacea, all fantastic late summer flowering plants, really bright, really show up well in the borders. But of course, These have been growing through the year. Don't be tempted to cut them, because you're going to be removing all the parts of the plant that's about to flower. So bear that in mind. Those are my herbaceous. And now I'm going to talk to you about those spring flowering shrubs, because if you cut them now, you'll either be removing the wood that will mature and produce the blooms for next year's flowering display, or you're going to be removing the wood that already holds the buds on it right now. But if you cut them off, you won't get any new ones being produced, so you'll be again removing next year's display. The biggest mistake, well, to be honest with you, all of these suffer from being cut about badly and losing the displays. Some of these plants you may have never seen in flower, and it could be a surprise to you just how good these are if you don't make this fundamental error of cutting in August. So I'll start with those plants that have already formed the flower buds, which will open up next year. First one is going to be your lilacs, otherwise known as your syringas. If you look closely at the terminal buds, those will be flower buds. Don't cut your lilacs. They're gorgeous plants. You're doing yourself a disfavor by losing that display. The second one is going to be all of your camellias. At this time of year, you should be able to see the embryonic flower buds now. It takes about 10 months to grow these buds on camellias, so you might be able to get away if you cut it a month, maybe 2 months after it's finished flowering. It will put out some new growth. You should get some more bud on it now, but in August you're well too late. Cutting now, all that wood will remove next year's display. You might get some regrowth, but you're very unlikely to get any blooms on it. So again, no to camellias. So you're getting how this works. It's going to be the same issue with your rhododendrons. I absolutely love rhododendrons. There's some really interesting varieties out there, and of course if it affects rhododendrons, it's going to also affect all of your azaleas, because they are a subgroup. Well, some people say they are now part of the genus, but they keep changing their mind. I don't know where I stand on it anymore, but you can't be cutting those. And I will also tag on the end your magnolias, same thing. They will be producing flower bud now. Next year that will open up and they give you lovely displays. So all of those, an absolute no-no. Do not cut these now. In fact, you don't cut them until after, or immediately after they finish flowering. It's the only safe time to cut them, and also to ensure next year's flowering display. Back in my chair. I do like my chair. So this last group we're going to be talking to you about, and to be honest with you, if there are groups of plants out there that you know shouldn't be cut in August, especially if you live in different countries outside of the UK, because obviously I'm English, I garden in England, I qualified in England, all my knowledge is based on growing in England. Different climates, different environments create different circumstances regarding pruning. We'll just wait for this plane to go past. There you go, that's better. So to continue, these are some of the classic shrubs that get cut and then you lose your displays. One of the obvious ones is going to be your, what's it called? I'm looking at it right now. It looks an absolute mess. We'll walk over to it and then I'll remember its name on the way. Forsythia. I always remember it because I have to remember who Bruce Forsyth with, because Bruce Forsyth's great-great-great-great-great-grandfather is named in honor of this plant, or the other way around, the plant's named in honor of his great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. And again, you can see, absolute mess of a plant. Someone's already had a go over there. That was ridiculous because you lost that. But all this old woody growth is what is going to have next year's blooms on. You remove the old growth, no flowers for you next year. This is another plant that is always cut at the wrong time of year. Again, you only cut this immediately after flowering. This is Philadelphus coronarius, and you can see why you cut it. It's an absolute monster. It's got way too big, really messy. People are desperate to want to cut it, but if you want the blooms, you cannot cut this plant now. You do want to keep the blooms because they are one of the most beautiful things you've ever seen. So the problem is, and I have sort of mentioned this already, is that the new growth that occurs immediately after flowering needs time to harden off over the summer period and the winter. And then as it matures, it becomes flowering wood. So if it doesn't have enough time to harden off, to mature, it won't become flowering wood. That won't be triggered in the plant, and come the spring you will get new growth, but there'll be no flowers on it, or if there are, there'll be very few by comparison. So to continue, well, to finish this group off, I'm going to add on ribes, which is your flowering currant, a great spring flowering plant. If you cut these plants, and it's the same with the Forsythia, if after flowering you cut these right down low to about a foot tall, maybe 18 inches, and allow a mass of fresh growth, you will get blooms all the way up and down. It's a fantastic looking thing. I'm going to put Pieris on the list. These are wonderful underrated plants, and the shame about it is you don't see them growing very well. They tend to suffer a few problems. I mean, they are Ericaceous, so they're often planted in the wrong soil. They're often planted in full sun. They tend to scorch. It's a real shame, but you get yourself a good variety, you've got your absolutely brilliant plant. And I'm going to put Viburnum bodnatense, but really, you could pretty much put on any early spring flowering plant, and you shouldn't be cutting it now. And while I'm talking about that, don't be cutting. I didn't mention climbers. I'm going to throw climbers in the end. Any of your early winter, early spring flowering Clematis, you can't cut this now for the same reason. You're removing the wood that will produce the bloom. So you're going to be talking about all of your Montanas. And you're going to be talking about your Armandii. You're going to be talking about, and it's one of my favourites, the Cartmanii form. So it's going to also include your Cerosas, which are your climbers from the Balearic Islands. Oh, and shall I throw in? I might as well throw these in as well. So it's going to be your winter flowering jasmine. You can't be cutting these now. You won't get any blooms on them. Oh, the list doesn't end. But I think I've covered all the most likely examples of all those plants. Oh my God, I can't speak. All those plants you shouldn't cut now. If there's any others I've missed, and there's going to be plenty more. I mean, otherwise this video will never end. Put that in the comments. We would generally like to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Before I go, consider watching this video. This is a great one. I enjoyed making it. Hopefully you'll also enjoy watching it.